Hello everybody, in this video I'd like to talk about 3 key things that I think all good instructors need. So if you're already an instructor, maybe there's something in this that'll get you thinking, maybe you can improve the quality of your instruction. But also for students, you can have a look at this and see if your instructor is meeting your requirements, or maybe it might be time to look for a different instructor, someone who's better able to guide you through the martial arts. So without further ado, let's look at the first thing that I think all good instructors need. Okay, so the first thing a good instructor needs is a sufficient and expanding knowledge of their martial art and its various applications. So I want to break that down a little bit because there's a lot in there. So the first thing is, does the instructor have sufficient knowledge? Now, sufficient will be determined by who the student is. So if you've got a beginner who's entering the dojo for the first time, never done martial arts before, if they're working with a first dan instructor, that's perfectly fine. That first dan is more than capable of teaching them what they're going to need for the first few years. No problem with that whatsoever. However, at a certain point, as the student starts to develop, it's important that the instructor doesn't become the bottleneck. And I see that quite a lot, which is why they need expanding knowledge. You should always look at your instructor and say, is my instructor out there learning still? Now, does my instructor train under other people? Are they mixing with other people to swap information? It's always a bad sign if someone feels that they know it all, right? That's always problematic for lots and lots of reasons. As one of my instructors said, he said, when most people tell you they've done martial arts for 30 years, what they're really saying is they've done 1 year 30 times. Right? They're just repeating what they learned in those early days. You know, knowledge needs to be expanding. 2 reasons for that. You know, one reason is, again, that as you're learning and you're ingesting that information, at a certain point you're able to pass that on. So you're a better instructor to your students because you just simply know more, you know, so therefore you're able to teach them more. Like in my seminars, you know, when I specialize in the kata application side of things, we have a lot of Q grades that come to the seminars, but the majorities are definitely Dan grade instructors, and they're there specifically, the vast majority of them are there because they want to learn something from me that they can then digest, they can make it their own and then pass on to their students. That's why they're there. It's a sign that they're good instructors if they're putting them out there and learning. So they don't become a bottleneck. The other thing with it is you want an instructor who's enthusiastic about their art, you know, who loves what they do, who's not jaded with it. So if they're still out there learning, swapping information, getting involved in training groups, you know, rubbing shoulders with different people, swapping information back and forth, that shows that they're still knowledge hungry. And again, that's a really good sign for an instructor. That shows that they're still enthused by the art, and that enthusiasm will be evident when they teach. It will get passed on to you. It will be a more enjoyable teaching experience, right? The other one, a part of this was, and the art's various applications. So one thing we need to be mindful of, especially, you know, today with the way the martial arts have evolved, is people do them for lots of different reasons, and there's lots of different versions of the art that have developed. So if we're talking about karate, you could do it as points competition, you could do it as full contact competition, you could do it as art, you could do it as exercise, you could do it for self-defense purposes, you could do it for historical interest. There's all kinds of different reasons why people will want to train. Now, we can't be experts in everything. We've all got limited knowledge. When it comes to kata application, I think I'm up there. I think I am a very knowledgeable instructor on that side of stuff. If you were talking about points competition, I haven't been involved in that world for over 20 plus years. I couldn't even tell you what the rules are today. And I do get students who come into the dojo and they're going, no, I really, really want to compete. So my answer to them, my best way of serving them is, I can't give you that. You know what I mean? I know instructors locally who are brilliant at that, who are friends of mine that I can put you in touch with, and they'll be better for you than I will. But if that's what you're looking for, that's not where you should be. We cannot give you that. You also see sometimes the other way around though. Let's say he's very good at the art of it. So he can make the movements look pretty, he knows all the katas, he's very good at teaching Kyo, all that kind of stuff. And then he gets a student comes in and said, look, I'm really interested in the self-defense side of things. And they go, no problem, we can teach that. They probably can't, unless they've done that extra training. Do they know about the law? Do they know about abusive relationships? Do they know about personal security? Do they know about travel security? Do they know about criminal behavior? Have they studied crime statistics? There's a lot of stuff that kind of falls out of the strict remit of martial arts, really, that anyone within the martial arts claiming to teach self-defense needs to know. Well, have they gone out there and learnt that? I know a lot of good karate instructors who have to the bow as well. But I also know some who don't, who'll still nevertheless claim, oh yeah, it's part of what we'll do, we'll teach you self-defense, and they won't. So when you're an instructor, ask yourself, do I have sufficient knowledge for my students? Am I seeking to expand that knowledge? And do I, understand that this has various applications? Where does my knowledge begin and end? What am I really good at? What I can effectively teach? If you're a student, it's pretty much the same checklist, right? Does this instructor know enough to teach me? That's a different answer if you're a beginner or you're a 7th dan, right? Different answers. The next one you've got is, I'm the person I'm learning off, do they still look hungry for knowledge? Are they still trying to expand it? It's a really great sign. Tells you a lot about them as an instructor, their approach to the art, even as a person. If they still have that enthusiasm and they want to get out there and learn stuff. They know they don't know it all. And the other one is understanding that art has various attributes to it. And nobody is an expert in all of it. So it's a matter of matching the teaching to what the students wants to learn and being honest about what it is that you're teaching. So the second thing is the instructor investing in their teaching skills? Because teaching skills are very different from martial arts skills. I know some phenomenal martial artists, incredible, joys to watch, like forces of nature, who are terrible instructors. They couldn't get a white belt to do a technique properly, despite the fact that they themselves are flawless at it. You also see it the other way around. People who are not that skilled, but are better instructors, because, they're able to, communicate that information better. It is a separate skill that you need to spend time investing in. If you want to be a good instructor, it's no good to say, well, I'm good at what I do. I have X dan grade. I've won so many competitions. Here we go. You need the skills to be able to communicate that to a wide range of people and being able to make sure that they can ingest that information and then acquire those skills themselves. It's not about your skills. It's about your ability to pass that on. See that sometimes too as well, where people will train in someone because they'll train with someone because that person is particularly skilled. But if they lack the teaching skills, it's not going to help you. You're not hiring a bodyguard, you're hiring an instructor. So what really matters is how well can they put that information across? Can they make it clear what's required? Can they teach in a progressive way? Can they teach in a way that motivates you? That it feels like it's a positive environment. It's a place you like being. Now, I also think a good instructor makes it fun. And I probably have to clarify that word, because sometimes when people hear fun, they hear frivolous, and it's not the same thing. Things that are very challenging, very scary, very demanding can be fun if they're done right. If people feel they can feel themselves growing and they can feel themselves progressing, it's fun. It's a great feeling to know that the you of a few weeks ago is not the you of you now. It's fun. Right? So we need to be able to have instructors who can make it enjoyable. Not frivolous, not just entertainment, but someone who can make the learning process thoroughly engaging and enjoyable for you. So you need instructors out there improving the teaching skills. I'll give you an example for me. So I was teaching regularly, obviously, in my own dojo. I'm doing a pretty good job there. I've got, I work with them week after week after week. I feel it's fine. And then, as what I do starts to gain some traction and people are reading the books I've written and watching the videos I've made, and I started getting asked to do seminars. So however long that was ago, 20 plus years ago, I started getting asked to do seminars. And what I quickly realized that my club teaching skills were fine. My seminar teaching skills were not fine. I wasn't able to communicate lots of information in a relatively short period of time in a way that's very intense. I always warn people at the start of my seminars, right? By the end of the session, your brain is going to be frazzled, right? That's not you. It's just the way that it is. Because I'm only there for whatever it happens to be, 2 days, a day, 4 hours. I need to get as much information out of me into them as possible during that time. So one of the things I started to do was I realized I need to be better at keeping these people engaged. I don't want the brains drifting off, quite understandably, because they're getting mentally tired. I need to keep them engaged. And part of that was I need to keep them entertained. Like one of my early instructors, who was a great instructor, he did a lovely phrase. I don't know if he got it from someone else, but I liked it, where he said, good teaching is 80% training, 20% entertaining. again, it goes back to that part of making it fun. So one of the things I started looking at was, well, who is very good at maintaining an audience attention? A group of people. And I thought stand-up comedians. Stand-up comedians just do nothing but talk, and people hang on their every word and greatly enjoy what they've got to listen to. So what I started doing was I started studying the basics of what stand-up comedians do in order to make sure their audience stays engaged. One of my favourite reviews I ever got for a seminar was a seminar I did overseas, and the guy wrote on his blog, it was 2 days of stand-up comedy with some awesome martial arts thrown in. I thought, great, I achieved it. So although the material I take very seriously, I like to teach it in a light-hearted kind of way, because that's what kind of works to help people keep engaged and keep that information in there as well. There's little things I've learned, simple things too, like I allow people to video summary notes. For those who've been to the seminars, what I do is I say, right, I want you learning, I want you present, I don't want you watching it through a viewfinder, so phones away. But at the end of every little bit, so we'll do like an hour and a bit, I'll say, right, grab your phones. And I'll do a quick video summary of what we've done. Just ask people, keep that to yourselves, don't share it online. Apart from a couple of accidents where people have accidentally put it online because it's public when they realise it wasn't. But apart from that, it must be tens of thousands of people I've done that with. Everyone's respected it. And where that works is then people go away with a little set of video notes. The brain might remember 80% of it. They can watch the notes and then it moves through. So which is not something we do in the class. I don't need to tell the students, look, video this now. But it is part of the way that I teach to make sure that people get the most out of it, when we're doing it. So your communication skills, your ability to motivate, your ability to listen to students as well, and to accept that not everyone's different. You can get some very complicated issues when you're teaching people. Does this person, have they got prior trauma? Have they got prior experiences, that may affect the way that they learn? Not everyone picks in information in the same way. We have neurodivergent people want to learn martial arts too, right? And they think a bit differently to everyone else. And you need to be sensitive to that and teach them in a way that works for them. It's not just a matter of saying, I know what I know, and I'm going to put it out how I want to put it out. And if you are worthy as a student, you'll eventually pick it up. It's not the way a good instructor works. A good instructor will go, right, what do my students need from me? What are they trying to learn? How can I most effectively do that? So it's a big, big part of being an effective instructor is that they are looking at their communication skills and trying to improve them. This is a big one. And I think this will be the one that will separate the wheat from the chaff, if you like, more than probably anything else we've talked about before, is that the instructor must care about their students more than they care about their system, their organisation, or money. Because the other two things we've talked about, if the instructor really cares about their students, they'll be making sure that they're out there learning so they can be the best source of knowledge for their students. If they really care about their students, they'll be doing the best they can to make sure they can communicate and effectively get that information across to students, develop the students as effectively as possible. They need to care about the students. Now, what we see a lot in the martial arts is people care about other things more. And there are other things, sometimes it's their reputation or their image, but I would say these are the big three, right? So the first one, they care about the system more than the student. So what they'll do then is, my sole purpose as an instructor is to pass across X rule traditionally and unaltered to as many people as possible and to get successes so they can pass it on as well. What tends to happen with those people is if you get a student who's not wonderful, there's could be lots of reasons. They may not have the attributes to eventually become an elite level martial artist, right? We're all born a bit different. Or just as probable, they don't have the motivation. Martial arts is something they want to do and they enjoy doing it, but it's not their main focus. There'll be other things in life that they're more enthused about, that are more important to them. For the instructor who only cares about the system or the organizational guy, we don't care about these students. We don't care about them. What we care about is the ones who are going to help spread the word of our system. That's a problem. Right? The other one that you sometimes see is, say the organisation thing as well. We want the organisation to be as big as possible. That's what we really care about. So what we want is as many students in as possible. because we want it to be as big. So we'll give downgrades away willy-nilly, and we'll tell you you're wonderful when you're not. And, you know, they're not trying to make them better martial artists. They're just trying to keep them retained to make the organisation big. And related to that is there are some instructors out there, you know, what they care about is the money. The money is their overriding motivation. And if the money is more important to the students, that's a problem as well. And you can see it. It's pretty obvious, you know. So here's a contract I want you to sign before you've even done a first lesson, and we're going to be grading you every 6 weeks, and every 6 weeks you're going to pay me these grading fees, and You know, if you're looking at your bank balance every month thinking, oh God, can I afford to keep doing martial arts? You're probably being fleeced. You know, you're probably doing it with someone who's more motivated by money. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't care about those things. Of course you should, but you should care about the students more. So if you take money, you know, I sometimes see this where I get really good instructors who do fit all the other criteria, but they don't care about the foot money at all. You know what I mean? So what happens is that they're not advertising because they don't have the money to advertise. Nobody knows about what they do. They haven't got the best kit because they can't afford new kit, right? They haven't got mats down when they train because they can't afford mats. They're in the most leaky, damp location that they could afford to rent. Right, and then what happens is those really good martial arts instructors are teaching about 2 or 3 people, which is bad for martial arts because nobody knows about them. You know, it's that kind of thing. Whereas on the other extreme, you've got people who are terrible at martial arts who are wonderful at the promotion of it. Yeah, I think you need to find the middle ground with that kind of stuff. You know, if you're a full-time instructor, you know, that gives you more time to learn and progress and all, like I am, and like everybody, I need enough money to pay the bills. That's been the mission for me. You know, the martial arts are something I find massively fun, really enjoyable. I love doing them. I love teaching it. I love everything about it. So I want to spend my life doing that. And to do that, I have to give up a day job. So I need to get sufficient income in from it, right? To me, that's fine. There's plenty of people in that. You know, it's okay to care about, you know, I love this system. This system's been good to me. I want to make sure it gets propagated. You know, I like my organisation. I want my organisation to do well. But if you put the student first, those things are a natural consequence of doing that. Right? So if you put your student first, you know, and everyone who comes through your door, you think to yourself, you know, how can I help this person? You know, what is it that they want to achieve? What are their goals? How can I help them do it? Them as a unique individual, because everyone's different. How can I teach them most effectively in a way that they'll enjoy it, get lots out of it and progress? Well, if you do that, people want to train with you. And then what happens is your system, you've got loads of students because everybody likes training there and the word of mouth spreads, right? Your organisation does well for the same reason. Everyone wants to train with you because you're really good at what you do. You've got a good reputation. People like going there. People tell others about how great you are doing it. And if you've got sufficient bodies through the door, you can charge a fair price for instruction. You don't need to fleece anybody. You don't need to be dishonest. You've spent time and effort getting this information in. Fair enough that you compensate you for that, right? So you charge the students a fee that's not excluding. Everyone can train with you. Everyone can afford what it is you're trying to do. Like in most cases, you know, certainly me, you know, if they're having financial difficulties, you know, then we find a way to make it work. I never want it to be an excluding factor, but I do need to pay the hall rents, and I do need to pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. But you see, a lot of people put it the other way around, right? They care about something else more than the student. The student is a means to an end, right? And the students will feel that quite quickly. They'll know, yeah, I'm not important here. They treat me quite badly. You know, this is what they're really interested in. And when they're not getting those things in a way that they think they should get them, the instructor makes that clear, right? But if you put the student first, right, those things will take care of themselves. Now, on that as well is every student is different. Now, I accept that as an instructor, some instructors will go, I am here to teach a certain type of person. And that's fine, right? You may get someone who says, no, I'm teaching full contact karate. What I want is people who are in the late teens or early 20s who are fit and motivated, who like to ruck. That's who I want to teach. And that's fine. You know, the same thing. You get someone comes through the door who's 70 years old, who's never done martial arts before and fancies giving it a go. You just tell them, we're not for you. But we can maybe find someone who is right for you. But I think one of the things that separates, like, you know, those niche instructors from the really good ones are the ones who are a little bit more able to kind of address the wider need within the limits of what it is they teach. So they'll maybe get someone come in who's neurodivergent, you know, they've got a different way of learning. A bad instructor will go, you can't train here, you're too disruptive, this is the way I teach, you're not hacking it, get out. A better instructor will go, okay, let me learn about this. How do you learn things? Let me kind of try and communicate into a way that works for you. You may get someone who has either major or minor disabilities. Let's say you've got someone, which I've got a particular person in mind, who had a hip injury. So when they were kicking, they could kick mid-thigh at best because their hips wouldn't allow them to kick any higher. I could have said, well, no, you know what I mean? I want to do an high kick, so you've got to go. So, okay, I'll adapt. I've had students who are missing limbs over the years. And you go, right, how am I going to teach you this in a way that works for you? I find that enjoyable, and it's a fun thing to do for me because, again, it's a test of my instructional abilities. It's very easy for me to take, the young, fit, strong people and make them better martial artists. But what about the others? What can I do for them as well? I like doing that, And as I've mentioned before, as a slight tangent, I think you can go to some clubs that are very good clubs, but what they've created is a selection mechanism, not a method of instruction. So, the instruction is so brutal and hardcore, and nothing wrong with that if you build up to it. But from day one, it's like that. And then what happens is the people who don't already have those skills or the ability to pick it up very quickly leave. So you get a very strong club, but the reason they're very strong is not because the instructor's any good, it's just because he's creating a way of excluding those who couldn't pick it up very easily anyway. It's probably a sign they're not a good instructor. But if you walk into the dojo and you've got a kind of mix of different people in there, it's probably a good sign that the instructor can deal with this. If you walk into a dojo and they're all men, right? Maybe that's a sign that the instructor isn't particularly good at teaching women. That might be something you want to consider. If you walk into a dojo and they're all young, and you're a bit older, maybe that's a sign the instructor isn't particularly good at teaching those a little bit older. If you walk in and they're all jacked with six-packs and look like fitness models, maybe they're not good at teaching those who are a little bit overweight or a little bit out of shape, who are trying to get back into that side of thing. Key point is that a good instructor will put the students first, always. So hopefully there's some interesting things to think about in terms of being the best instructor you can be. Have you got sufficient knowledge? Are you trying to expand your knowledge? Are you looking at improving your teaching skills? Are you putting your students first? For the students, look at your instructor, same thing. Are they doing these things? If they are, you're very lucky. You've got a really good instructor there. Keep training with them. They'll get the best out of you. One final thing I want to do, but this will be a topic for another video, but I do think it's important to mention it. It's not always on the instructor, right? The student needs to be a good student too. And maybe I can do a video on that one as well, what a good student should be. Because I'm sure all instructors will know somebody that they've I just cannot teach this person. For whatever reason, whether they're disruptive, problematic, whatever it happens to be. If every instructor you've ever trained with is telling you, you're a terrible student, maybe it's not the instructor, maybe it's you. So there is a balance there between the two. It's not always on the instructor to make sure that you become the best martial artist you can be. You've got to take ownership of that process as well. And when you've got the student working well and the instructor working well, good student and a good instructor, you're going to get progress, right? So thanks very much for watching this video. I'll be back with more soon. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.